This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. The storm that was once Hurricane Gilbert is playing itself out tonight over sparsely populated northeastern Mexico. It never made the turn north toward the Texas coast that had been predicted, but from the Caribbean and all across the Gulf of Mexico, it leaves billions of dollars in damage, nearly 100 people dead, perhaps 200 missing. The latest damage came today when tornadoes produced by the storm sliced hundreds of miles inland and struck San Antonio, Texas. We're starting our coverage there with James Hattori.
San Antonio has been declared a disaster area tonight after Tropical Storm Gilbert spawned tornadoes that flattened mobile homes, ripped off roofs, and killed at least one person.
It sounded like a train, and it just come barreling through, and things just started flying.
One twister went from building to building at the Lodge Apartments in the northwest part of town. Kathy Herr escaped injury by crawling into the bathtub of her top floor unit.
I could feel the bricks hitting me and glass hitting me, and I knew I was just going to go sailing through the air with everything else.
Carlos Martinez awakened to find his bedroom leveled.
I crawled from right there, right over here, and by the time I crawled, everything was gone.
Witnesses spotted more than a dozen funnel clouds throughout the day. Southeast of town, one touched down in a mobile home park, killing a 59-year-old woman. At Kelly Air Force Base, a twister ripped apart hangars and knocked down towers. North of the base, Jack and Liz Brown lost their mobile home, but not their spirit.
Everybody looks at it and says it's terrible. I think it looks good. I'm standing up, and so is she.
Tonight, the tornado warning is over, but the damage remains. A calling card from a storm named Gilbert. James Hattori, CBS News, San Antonio.
One of the worst accidents caused by the storm occurred in the Mexican town of Monterrey, and CBS News correspondent Jerry Bowen reports now on that.
250 people are unaccounted for in the Mexican industrial city of Monterrey following flash flooding last night that turned the normally bone-dry Santa Catarina riverbed into a raging torrent. 160 of the missing were on buses filled with evacuees from the coastal border town of Matamoros, fleeing inland for what they thought was safe shelter. Last night, in the floodwaters and the driving rain, one of the passengers could barely be seen waving from one of at least 3 trapped buses. Red Cross officials say just 13 people were known to have been saved. The fate of the passenger waving for help is not known. At least 6 policemen trying to rescue the bus passengers were also swept away by the floodwaters. The bodies of 5 of them were recovered this morning. Also unaccounted for are scores of people who lived in lowland areas along the river. Neighborhoods presumed so safe in recent years that soccer fields and tennis courts were built at the edge of the normally dry bed. At this hour, it's all under roiling brown water. Monterrey officials say at least 50,000 people have been forced from their homes into shelters. Many roads and bridges have been destroyed. 5 of the 6 main bridges crossing the Santa Catarina, the north-south dividing line in Monterrey, have been closed because it's feared they may collapse. And tonight, the frantic search continues for the missing. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Mexico City.
Hurricane Gilbert brought the vacations of many Americans who were visiting Jamaica and the Mexican resort of Cancun to a jarring end. Today, some of those people returned to the United States, where they were greeted by relatives and thrilled to be back.
We're really glad to be home. It took us all these days to get home.
You know, it wasn't something I'd like to go through again, because, especially with the little one. You know, we were quite concerned about him, but thank God we're here.
When the storm hit shore yesterday, its main force was felt in a lightly populated area of Mexico. Christine Negroni now with details from there.
This morning, when they emerged from their houses, residents of the town of San Fernando could see what they had heard all night. Hurricane Gilbert's wind, rain, and tornadoes pushed in the roof of the city's granary and tore off the roof of the gas station. Water and electricity were cut off. Streets were flooded. Today, kids played as their parents cleaned up, both relieved following a frightening night. The eye of Hurricane Gilbert came ashore here in the tiny fishing village of La Pesca. The government had evacuated the town in preparation for the storm, but damage here was minimal. Soldiers who guarded the town from looters overnight now helped in the cleanup. As residents returned to their homes, they found far less damage than they expected. A few small houses had collapsed and some trees had fallen. This man said there had been worse storms here. In Tres Palos, villagers waited out the storm together in the strongest buildings. The Saldivar family spent the night with a neighbor. They were glad they did. Their house was badly damaged by a tornado. But no one in the village was hurt, and rancher Luis Quintanilla says that was an answer to his prayers.
Que nos ayudara, que nos cuidara y nos salvara de la mala hora.
Quintanilla says he's never experienced anything like Gilbert, and he was scared. But he insists God helped them, protected them, and saved them from the storm. Christine Negroni, CBS News, Tres Palos, Mexico.
When Gilbert rampaged through the Caribbean, the country that suffered the most was Jamaica, where 36 are now reported dead. Today, from Charlotte, North Carolina, the United States sent Jamaica medical supplies and a mobile hospital unit that had been in storage for 25 years. The phrase home sweet home may mean more than usual tonight for many people in Texas. They are heading back now to their homes after being spared the worst of the storm. Bob McNamara with that.
Yay, we survived!
Almost everybody on the Texas coast survived. The Martinez family back in Port Isabel, unloading household goods and pulling plywood off the windows. And with a few relatively minor exceptions, almost everything survived too.
I think we're just so fortunate. I mean, you know, to come out of this one the way we have. A lot of prayers were answered, I guess.
On South Padre Island, evacuated last Thursday, sand and debris littered streets bordering the beach. A few business signs were down and shingles peeled away. In Brownsville, utility crews worked to restore power, an emergency shelter emptied down to a last man, and the streets bustled by noon. Everywhere along the Texas coast today, storm refugees flooded back to hometowns.
Sorry I left. No, I think again, I wouldn't stick around.
We always run, no matter what. First our lives.
Despite a few minor scars, Port Isabel Shrimp Fleet, the backbone of the town's economy, will be ready to sail tomorrow.
This is a unique thing when one of these storms comes in about 3 days later, fishing is really real good.
It was late yesterday that the worst of Gilbert's fury shook Port Isabel and South Padre Island. Heavy tides pounded the shoreline, winds gusted close to 100 miles per hour at times, but even then, some didn't leave.
I sat here in a 5-gallon bucket and watched my cats play in the front yard.
But another roadblock to pass, another fence to fix. Hurricanes are a way of life here.
Every time you go through the same thing, you're bored up, you work like a dog for a couple of days. You know, you're glad it misses you, but then in a way, after doing all that work, you think, all for nothing, but that's all right, though.
And the next time hurricane warnings go up, they will go again. Bob McNamara, CBS News, South Padre Island, Texas.
And still ahead on the CBS Evening News, a town that thinks it has solved the problem of cancer-causing radon gas in people's homes. And in Seoul, South Korea, we'll see how Olympic athletes move to the beat of different drummers.
Susan, can we talk?
Sure, Dad.
You notice anything different about Mom?
She's acting pretty wild for her age.
Well, I don't just mean the roller skates.
And the motor scooter. She even borrowed my new dress. Come on, Dad, what is it?
A balanced diet with the right vitamin nutrition helps people get more out of life. Some are finding Kellogg's Product 19. 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals. Feel good about yourself.
Not the, rubber dress.
Feel like 19 again.
Mom, listen. Well, of course you'll hardly hear anything. It's my new Whirlpool dishwasher. Cleans great and it's so quiet. Mom, what's all that noise? Oh, it's your dishwasher.
Whirlpool. This man is twice as strong as this man. Tom's EX is twice as strong as Rolaids. So when you have heartburn, get the stronger acid neutralizer. Tom's EX, twice as strong as Rolaids.
Day after day, more people depend on Subaru wagons than any imported wagon in America. And with good reason. They're reliable and durable. In fact, if Subaru didn't make your life easier...
Honey, is dinner ready?
Who would?
Up to $1,000 cash back from Subaru means a great deal on a great car.
This is the 201st anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. Vice President Bush noted the occasion by attending swearing-in services today for 175 new citizens and by joining retired Chief Justice Warren Burger and ringing a replica of the Liberty Bell in Washington. It's also Burger's 81st birthday. Bush's opponent was in the key state of California today, where he accused Bush of being a born-again environmentalist. Bill Whitaker now with that.
With polls showing the race a dead heat in California, Michael Dukakis today took his campaign into the heart of George Bush country, suburban, affluent, Republican Orange County.
George Bush has a resume. I'm proud to say I've got a record.
To a meeting of county Democrats, Dukakis promised to make the EPA a cabinet-level department, and he trashed Bush's record on the environment.
He's done more somersaults than an Olympic gymnast on the subject of offshore drilling off the California coast.
California is a must-win state for Dukakis, and campaign insiders say the election here will be won or lost in the state's sprawling suburbs. So Dukakis is addressing the concerns of the suburban white middle class, the environment, education, and in this state assaulted daily with reports of drug violence, Dukakis is talking tough on crime. On the stump,
my friends, the streets of America do not belong to drug peddlers and crack gangs. They belong to us, and we're going to take them back.
And on TV.
Crime down in Massachusetts by 13% and the lowest homicide rate of any industrial state.
It's tough talk to counter Bush's charge that he's soft on crime.
A lot of this has got to be showing that George Bush has been a failure on drugs. George Bush has been a failure in terms of the environment. George Bush doesn't have an idea what a good educational system for this country means.
Dukakis will be spending lots of time in California. He has to. A month ago, he was 16 points ahead in the polls. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Ronald Reagan's 1980 landslide brought with it a lot of Republican newcomers to Congress. This week, Phil Jones discovered that the ones who are still there have made the House into a home. Here's his report.
When President Reagan came to the Capitol 8 years ago, there were 52 new, feisty, cheering Republicans in the chamber who were there in part because of Ronald Reagan's political coattails. On some issues, they were dubbed Reagan robots.
Ronald Reagan came to me in the second month of his freshman year, my freshman year, and said, would you vote to raise the debt ceiling? I never dreamed I'd come to the Congress of the United States to vote to raise a debt ceiling. That's just not the way Nebraskans think. I did that.
Now, with Reagan about to turn over power, the 30 still in office and running for re-election are braced to fend for themselves. They've had 8 years to build powerful political bases back home. Only a couple are facing serious re-election problems.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
For one of those in trouble, Missouri's Bill Emerson, having President Reagan drop in for a visit this week, was a boost to the campaign. With dependency on agriculture, textiles, and shoe manufacturing, the president's policies have caused economic problems in the 8th District and political difficulties for Emerson.
The policies of the Reagan administration has been devastating to this district, and Mr. Emerson did come in on the Reagan landslide in 1980, and he's going out with Reagan whenever he goes out in 88.
Emerson concedes he has supported President Reagan more often than not. But on issues critical to the district, like trade policies and plant closing, he has broken with the president.
I never took to the term robot. I think it was an unfair allegation to insinuate that anyone who was elected with the president necessarily was going to vote his line all of the time.
With Democrats having a strong base in the 8th, Democratic challenger Wayne Kreitz has called for help from his party's presidential candidate. Kreitz claims that Emerson is beatable with Ronald Reagan not on the ballot. Perhaps George Bush's coattails will not be as long as Ronald Reagan's, but most members of the class of 80 have already learned how to use the power of incumbency and how to win whoever's at the top of the ticket. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And when we come back, a report on how Washington and a lot of other people are already getting ready for the next administration.
When your coffee is rich and satisfying, like your time alone, and it's naturally decaffeinated, it's necessarily Nescafe.
Great coffee blends to taste away. That's necessarily Nescafe.
Hey, McElroy, I thought you were from Illinois.
I am.
Only guys from Kentucky do that with their shredded wheat.
I've been doing this since I was a kid.
Here's how we do it in Brooklyn. First, we break them in half, and then we mash them to a pulp. Add some milk, maybe a little fruit ganj.
Nabisco shredded wheat is great no matter how you eat it because it's nutritious whole wheat with no added sugar or salt.
What do the guys from California do?
They float them.
The odds are against you. It's 3-1. You're going to lose. When you ignore plaque, you're gambling with gingivitis, an early form of gum disease. You need Listerine Antiseptic, the only non-prescription mouthwash accepted by the American Dental Association for its significant help in preventing and reducing plaque and gingivitis. And Listerine still kills bad breath germs. So brush, floss, and use Listerine to help prevent gingivitis. Chances are, you'll beat the odds.
I'm not going to take it anymore. Sure, Metamucil works, but it's gritty.
I'm not going to take it anymore.
No more. Take new low-calorie Citracel Regular. Citracel isn't gritty, and it really works.
In addition to the death and destruction it brought, this week's hurricane pushed most of the political news off the newscasts and the front pages. But as we found out this week, official Washington and a lot of other people too are already deep into getting ready for the next president, whoever it turns out to be.
You can see it in the hurried pace of the workers jockeying for position outside the Capitol. And all over Washington, people are already thinking, speculating about how the new president, whoever he is, will put together his government. And no wonder.
There is nothing like it in the American system. He must form the biggest corporation in the world overnight.
Already would-be advisors are convening. This nonpartisan group met yesterday in Atlanta. With 2 experienced hands at the helm, they'll meet from time to time to draw up a list of problems the new president will probably face during the early days of office.
During his first 90 days in office, which ones will be more appropriate to be pursued during the first year in office, and which ones should be concluded within his first term?
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear. The new man may or may not take the advice, but like his predecessors, he'll have only 73 days after his election to put together his team, as the whole world watches.
Power is shifting. Foreign governments are looking for signals. The domestic bureaucracy is looking for signals. And presidents-elect, for as long as I'm aware, have begun to, in a way, make policy with their election, not waiting for the inauguration.
There's no time to wait, because before you can say Air Force One, world problems have a way of intruding. Truman had hardly settled in when he had to decide whether to drop the A-bomb. Very early in their administrations, Eisenhower arm-wrestled a peace treaty in Korea. Kennedy launched the Bay of Pigs invasion, and Ford signed a pardon of Richard Nixon. Even as Ronald Reagan was taking the oath, the Iranians were freeing American hostages from 444 days of captivity.
Liaison between outgoing administrations and incoming administrations tends to be either, in actuality, feckless or hostile, but never very worthwhile.
No matter how much advance planning a newly elected president does, it is never enough.
They can think, they can plan, but until they take the oath of office and know that it is his responsibility, not until then will they feel the full weight of the office.
That's a sobering reminder in this era when campaign activity often has little to do with the problems of governing. Because no matter how much of their time the candidates spend on things like this and this, the clock is ticking. It's already Inauguration Day minus 124 and counting. And there is serious business ahead.
Into the land of heartburn comes the first liquid antacid without that liquid antacid taste. Finally, a really good tasting liquid that puts out the fire and relieves the pain of heartburn. New Tums Liquid.
Strong medicine with a fresh, minty taste. Tums Liquid. It really works, and it really tastes good.
Daddy, I want my teddy bear.
I want my Serta. Get comfortable. Get a Serta Perfect Sleeper. It'll spoil you for sleeping any other way.
I want my Serta.
This diver has a thin, powerful seal, but it's not on his mask. It's on his dentures. A seal so thin, so powerful, that more than any ordinary adhesive, Extra Hold Fast Teeth holds closer to real.
For the first time ever, Red Lobster presents 30 shrimp done 4 incredible ways for just $8.95.
You've never had so many shrimp, so many ways. Shrimp that are golden fried, scampi you just must try. Shrimp baked with lots of spice and lemon peppers, oh so nice. You've never had so many shrimp at such a price.
The deluxe shrimp sampler just $8.95. Kids shrimp dinner $1.95 at Red Lobster.
We know how you love seafood.
Pope John Paul is winding up his tour of southern Africa and Mozambique, where tens of thousands have been killed in a long civil war. At an open mass today, John Paul blessed crippled victims of the war. He urged reconciliation between the Marxist government and the right-wing guerrillas. Back in the United States, a government health advisory issued this week has homeowners nationwide anxiously checking for traces of potentially lethal radon gas. One town in New Jersey was already well aware of the problem, and residents have tackled it head on. Jonathan Sanders reports.
New Jersey and you, perfect together.
This picturesque New Jersey town looks so perfect, the governor uses it in his ads. But 2 years ago, things weren't so perfect in Clinton. That's when residents discovered that their houses were full of radon.
Once you find out what it is, you're scared.
Radon is a cancer-causing odorless gas that forms naturally underground. This week, the EPA warned that it has become a serious national health problem, which may result in as many as 20,000 deaths a year. But when the radon problem surfaced in Clinton, local authorities took charge.
We faced the problem head on. All town residents were invited to an information session that we held where we explained the problem both from a health perspective as well as a technical one.
As a result, Clinton became a radon research laboratory. With the help of the EPA, residents figured out that the best way to get the gas out of their homes was to install vents and fans. Not only have the people of Clinton learned to cope with radon, some have turned the problem into profit. For example, Larry Kaplan, who went into the radon busting business after figuring out how to get the gas out of his most precious possession, his house.
This was my first house, and it was supposed to be perfect.
And as a result of Clinton's radon busting efforts, most residents hope their town is now just what the ad says. Perfect.
We know the problem we have, and we've solved it.
Maybe, but experts say the carcinogenic consequences of radon show themselves only in 20 to 30 years. Jonathan Sanders, CBS News, Clinton, New Jersey.
They say men get better with age, and women just age. Oh, really?
Oil of Olay.
Men get character lines, women get wrinkles. Oh, really?
Created to penetrate quickly, lessen the look of lines.
Only men get sexier. Oh, really?
Created to fight dryness, silken, like your skin's youthful fluid.
I don't intend to grow old gracefully.
Oil of Olay.
I'm fighting it every step of the way. Really.
This is John Overly, and this is his farm. It's the Benjamin Moore Paint Farm. Out here, John tests thousands of Benjamin Moore paints to make sure they'll withstand years of sun and cold, rain and snow without cracking, peeling, or fading. These tests help make Benjamin Moore the only paint good enough for the Reynolds family and their new home. They wouldn't settle for anything less, would you?
When something means so much, see your Benjamin Moore dealer. New Tartar Control Aquafresh will knock you over. It reduces ugly tartar and more. It also helps remove plaque, fights cavities, and tastes great. New Tartar Control Aquafresh.
Now for indigestion, gas. Introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
Pitcher Tom Browning of the Cincinnati Reds is basking today in the glow of a baseball masterpiece. He pitched a perfect no-hit game to beat Los Angeles last night 1-0 as not a single Dodger reached first base. It was the first perfect game in Cincinnati's 119-year club history, only the 14th in Major League history. Well, in the Seoul Summer Olympics, the first medals were handed out today, and one went to an American. She's Arlene Lemus of Chicago. She won a gold medal in the martial arts sport of Taekwondo. Almost every country that should be in Seoul showed up, and the variety of sports and competitors is dazzling. Bob Simon now.
The Olympics have just begun, and look what's coming down the lane. Bowling is an Olympic sport this year. So is baseball and badminton, not the lazy Sunday afternoon kind. And Taekwondo. If games are sublimated warfare, the veneer is wearing thin.
It's going to be business, strictly business.
Serious business. The sports superpowers are all meeting here for the first time in 12 years. All clearly recognizable. The Americans by their outfits, the East Germans by their winning smiles, the Russians by the magic way they fall out of the sky. This is 14-year-old Natalia Lashanova. Remember that name, Lashanova. There are people here you'd recognize, a diver named Luganis, a tennis player named Graf. There are others you'd never tell apart. Identical twins, gymnasts from Hungary, wrestlers from South Dakota, swimmers from Connecticut. The superstars, the megathletes, are being protected like presidents and have just as much privacy.
These guys may be famous in their hometown, in their home country, but to me, they're just another face.
This is the Australian boxing team. They're not here for the gold, neither medals nor money. They're having a good time.
I've got nothing to lose but heaps to gain. It's been about 30 years since we've won a medal in Australia.
The Olympic Village, with all the charm of a Bulgarian housing development, was built to Korean scale.
It's really nice. I mean, everybody's really friendly and everything. The only thing that's a little odd is everything's built for short people.
The games have hardly begun, and already there are unforgettable sights. This is the Israeli wrestling team. This is the pole vault that didn't. This is the ballet of the warm-up, the secret body language of the very best, here because of gold or glory, or just because. Bob Simon, CBS News, Seoul.
And recapping the day's top story, the once monster storm Hurricane Gilbert has been downgraded to a tropical depression, but the confirmed death toll from its rampage this week totals about 100. And tornadoes in the San Antonio area of Texas today killed at least one person. Now, weathermen describe it as simply a huge rain-making machine, and they say the people in the Midwest had better dust off their umbrellas. That's our report. Later tonight on West 57th, Steve Croft reports on a new biography of John Lennon. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York. Good night.
The Vikings try to overthrow the Bears. The Giants battle the Cowboys. A doubleheader tomorrow on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.